Hello, everyone. As you filter in, I'm just going to remind you that, as always, this is being live streamed to YouTube. Whatever you mention in this session will be recorded and posted, so just keep that in mind as you speak. We will start at like 7:02 just to give some people room to be admitted from the weight room. Okay, everyone, I'm seeing we have most of our senators here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started just in the interest of time. We do have a pretty packed agenda tonight. We will just begin with the approval of the previous minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes for the last Senate we had before break? Any amendments to the minutes? All right, we will move on then to the next point of our agenda, which is our guest speakers, Dr. Yarfitz and Dr. Ramachandran. I think I said that right, but if I'm wrong, please correct me. We are really thankful that you're here. We're going to be talking about the cultural diversity requirement. I do just want to remind everyone who just entered the room that while we will be having this really frank discussion, everything you say is recorded. So in the event you would like to share a perspective that you do not want recorded, I would just encourage you to either reach out to Dr. Yarfitz or Dr. Ramachandran or to fill out that survey that was provided in the agenda. That way your voice will be heard, but you won't necessarily have to put it on the video. With that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Yarfitz and Dr. Ramachandran.
By the way, Ali, that was perfect, Dr. Ramachandran. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Miles. Hi, other folks we know. So let's see, can we do I don't know if it's best to do a screen share. I have a presentation. Let's see if I'm allowed to share my screen. No, can I share my screen?
You should be able to now.
Okay, and I'm also going to give you this presentation, so it's so that you can come back here. Okay, so I think it's probably for the best if we just walk through it together, but I'll also put it in the chat, and there are links in it to the survey, the draft, various other documents. So folks may want to come back to it after we're done here. There's a lot of information. We're going to try to go through it efficiently and not get into the weeds. So we wanted to just give this to you as a form of notes that you could all have for later. Having a little bit of an issue because I'm used to using PowerPoint. This is not PowerPoint. Let's see. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so we thought that we would start this off with a little bit of an interactive activity. Do you all ever do like breakout rooms here in Senate? Can we do that?
I think we can definitely make it happen if you don't mind it being randomized, just because it's not.
Yeah, no, randomized would be great. So we were thinking if, so basically we've set up a Google Doc and it's linked here. Dr. Ramachandran, would you mind putting that link into the chat? That is, so where it says, I don't know if you can get it, or if not, I can get out of it and give it to you. So our thought was that we could just spend some time thinking big picture in maybe breakout rooms of, roughly 3 people, and think about the following questions. And if you could take notes in this Google Doc, just have one note taker. That way we can sort of have a record of some of these big picture questions. We cannot guarantee that any of this can be made happen, but it certainly can't be made happen if we don't envision it. So if you could create whatever curricular structure and classes you wanted, how would Wake Forest address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the college curriculum? So specifically in classes, in the structure of departments or divisions of requirements, what classes might be offered, how would they be taught, and how also might students engage in the classroom with these sometimes controversial issues? So I don't know, before we go into those breakout rooms.
I don't have the link.
Okay, I will.
I can go ahead and put it in the chat, Professor Yarfitz.
Thank you.
Okay.
And hopefully I will have succeeded in doing the settings correctly so that you can be in there. Yep, I see a bunch of you in there. Excellent. Yeah, so we thought maybe we'd just spend like 5 minutes or, 4 or 5 minutes sort of in breakout rooms, if you don't mind throwing folks in there. And then we can be thrown into breakout rooms if necessary. Seems like some folks are also looking at some of the other documents. So our hope is that we can just spend a few minutes on this, and then you can just dissolve the breakout rooms after 5 minutes, and we'll go through the rest of our presentation.
Okay, I have it set to randomly assign you to a breakout room. There should be 3 or 4 people in each one. If anyone has an issue, feel free to shoot me a text. I know you all have my phone numbers, but I'll pull you back out at about 7:12. If you're not pulled out by 7:12, feel free to just come back to the main room, if that's okay. Caroline, if you want to join the breakout room, definitely feel free, but I think you can just move yourself around since you're a host.
Oh, okay, cool.
Committees, both within departments and then at the higher college level, will have to decide, does a class fit this or not, right? And one of the issues with the current cultural diversity requirement is that there aren't very clear standards of whether or not a class should fit or why it should fit. So the idea is that rather than simply deciding based on you read the title of a class and you guess, right? These learning outcomes, as for current FYSs, will have to be met by every class. So this is the draft of the learning outcomes. So we'd love your feedback on these learning outcomes as well as the language of these requirements. Right. This is the second requirement, study in world cultures. Again, if you can come up with another name, great. The whole world obviously is not actually covered here. The idea is to focus on the global South, formerly colonized areas. We're struggling here. We don't want to reify the concept of the West and the rest, but we do want to encourage students to do some learning that does not center, right, what we have called at various times Western civilization or the global North, or sort of hegemonic power in Europe and the United States. The first one that I showed you, this one could be any part of the world. It could be, right, a class that focuses on, let's say, Indian history, but it has to think about it structurally, right? So it would have to think about caste and class and race in that context. Ideally, also focusing specifically on anti-Blackness in some way. All right, and then here are the learning outcomes for that second requirement. And again, you're not gonna be able to read all this and think about it right now. So we've just given you a lot of information. We'd like to spend the rest of our time hearing from you. We're happy to take any questions about any of this, whether it's language process. Again, we're hoping that you'll use that survey to give, specific critiques, language that you'll take some time after this to really read through some of this stuff. So some of the questions that we're wondering and would really like student feedback on are does this proposal seem more meaningful than the current requirement? Does it seem better to you than the earlier administrative proposal? If so, why, how, or why not? And if it is not more meaningful to you, if it's not working for you, if when you read it, you're thinking this is just as bad as the other one, we want to know and we want to change that. Particularly, we're wondering if there's other language we could use in titles or descriptions or these learning outcomes to communicate more clearly with students. We're also wondering how different subcultures of students might respond differently to this change. And if you have any thoughts on how to address any concerns that might arise under particular groups of students, ways that we might reduce potential opposition among certain groups of students or certain groups of parents or certain groups of donors or certain trustees. And again, y'all don't have to fix all that. We're just wondering if you have ideas. We're also wondering if you have ideas on sort of coordinating co-curricular endeavors with these classes. So there's already interesting things going on with the Office of Community and like on the other C and engagement, the ACE Fellows programs. Maybe there are interesting ways that we could connect those things. And are there any other dimensions of this entire issue that we're not currently considering? So we'll open up whatever time is left to just talking about this. I'm going to take some notes. If you have other thoughts, you can put it in the survey. You can send suggestions to us. You can also write to the sort of point person of this draft, who's Dr. T.H.M. Geller-Goad. Here's his email address. But before we open up, I don't know if Dr. Ramachandran wants to add or clarify anything else.
But I don't think so. I think we can go straight to it. Ali, how much time do we have?
We can do 5 minutes, and then if we have a lot of questions, we can extend it to 10 minutes,
Great.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
If you have comments or questions or feedback of any kind, please just use the raise hand function just so it doesn't get chaotic.
So even if you don't want to start answering these questions, but you thought of something that you may want us to know, we can start with that too. But it's also okay to start with the first question. So I'll turn it over to you and the first question.
Awesome. And I just do want to remind everyone that in the event you have feedback that is longer or that you aren't comfortable sharing and having published online, that survey is absolutely available. CJ, I see your hand is raised, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, I might have missed this. I came a little late, but I was just wondering if the survey is going to be circulated to the entire student body or different groups other than our own, because, while a lot of us were elected, from our dorms and whatnot, I think that getting a larger student perspective would be also interesting.
So we don't have the mechanical capacity to do that. We can't send an email to the entire student body. So, if you all can think of a way to do that or want to be a part of doing that, we'd love to work with you on that, or think about, we've thought about, certainly we have contacts with various student groups that we can send it to, but we don't have the ability to email the entire student body.
But you're right, CJ, in terms of we don't want a particular group who's involved only in government, who's it would be ideal if most of the student population were able to take this survey. Mm-hmm. So we're putting that on you, in other words. We just pushed that labor off. Did you see that? We're good at that as professors.
Awesome. Jack Lewis.
So on your committee to write this, did you have any conservative people or conservative-minded people?
So I guess I would ask you what I'm trying to figure out what conservative and conservative-minded people are, because that is a very,
I just think there's a whole lot of language in the bill, such as saying that Western civilization is like kind of white supremacist. And I think that
Mhm.
really doesn't sit well with a whole big swath of the country that thinks that Western civilization does exist, that it's, you know, headed by the United States, that it's a force for good in the world, and that we've seen its forces for good throughout our entire American history.
Mhm. So I'm not sure in that case, so what this is as humanities is to allow us, that needs to be said. And I think that as a school, we do a good job of showing, Wake Forest shows the sort of pros of Western civilization in courses. What I think is being discussed here is also maybe the other end. What about the bad side? And I don't even want to say bad side. It's more in terms of like having different voices represented. So in terms of that, it's like, yes, so Western civilization might have brought good things. America, I'm Canadian, by the way, so I'm going to slag on Americans all the time, but American civilization might have brought great things. What about, you know, the power structures? What about how it operated? And what about learning something that perhaps is not part of a high school curriculum? Because after all, isn't college a place to question and learn about other sort of people's positions? Mira, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I want to address this concern in a slightly different way, which is that, you know, just that reaction, I imagine, will be common among a sector of the student population, as it, you know, we got a reaction from a smaller sector of faculty members. But, you know, sort of reading the actual language, which you may not have yet had time to do, the language does not say Western civilization is bad. The language doesn't say Western civilization is inherently white supremacist. You know, I think sometimes because of the larger cultural moment that they're in, the use of any one of a long list of terms immediately kind of reads as a particular political position. The idea is that a broad range of classes taught by professors with a broad range of positions could count for these classes. But, you know, obviously the use of a word like white supremacy or a phrase like anti-racism or even naming things like race, class, gender, sexuality, you know, these are things that are part of these larger cultural wars, which, you know, certain people who are, let's say, politicized in certain ways are going to read in particular ways. That does not necessarily mean that the classes can only be taught by people with a particular ideological perspective. But I think that that critique is one, you know, that we're going to have to be mindful of, just as the language of cultural diversity or multiculturalism has already been critiqued, right? And has been critiqued on a national level by national leaders. These are debates that are happening all around us, right? That we're also not going to be able to solve.
I would also encourage anyone, there's a lot of politics and other social sciences majors in this room. And if you're involved in an organization on campus that might hold a diverse array of political or social perspectives, I would encourage you to send the survey out to them so that they can perhaps collect those diverse viewpoints. We're going to take the last two questions from people whose hands are already raised just because of the time. So Jacob, you can go, and then Nick.
On a little bit of a lighter, I mean, I do share Jack's concerns, even as someone who doesn't agree with like the political perspective of the conservative movement. Like, I think the language in here can get incendiary for unnecessarily, and I think that has the ability to alienate a large swath of the school, and especially people who are reading this from afar. And I don't think it needs that personally. I don't think it needs this language to be successful. But on a lighter note, in the rough draft that was sent out to us earlier, the last line on the first page says, this level of initiative would also require careful balancing with the hefty coursework required of students pursuing the pre-health track in certain STEM majors. I took issue with that personally as someone who's not planning on doing one of those things and doesn't really think that I have a small course load. I thought that was kind of disrespectful to a large part of the Wake Forest population for no reason. And then I guess some of my more like concerns with the piece altogether, where structurally, I'm not clear on why, if we choose a class, we're able to choose which component the class fulfills between the two of them. That didn't make sense to me structurally. If I feel like we should have classes that either fulfill one of the requirements or another one of the requirements, however long or how many credit hours they should be. But I don't know why students would be able to pick one if the concepts that we're learning in them apply to both. Like, why wouldn't that class just be applicable to both sections of the new process? And then I guess some more language was like that kind of approached me in the wrong way. Like even as someone who agrees with this kind of initiative and kind of a lot of the language that's used in it, like anti-racism and kind of anti-blackness, like kind of understanding that stuff is real and important. Really talking about like white supremacy instead of cultural diversity kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way, because I also feel like when we talk about white supremacy in the context of cultural diversity, people are going to feel like we're not promoting other cultures as much as we are looking down on one or the bad history that one has had. And I feel like that's unnecessary to empower cultural diversity in the classrooms. I feel like it's much more important to focus on the positives of other cultures, much more, especially if we're reforming this in this way, than kind of the aspects of white supremacy in the United States, especially. Like, I feel like if we're going to look abroad, let's look abroad, talk about different cultures, rather than white supremacy at home or in Europe or in kind of these Western nations as we're talking about. I don't really agree with the white supremacist aspect of Western civilization to begin with, but that's a topic for a different day, I guess. But those are my concerns at this point. So thought I'd share that.
I do want to answer the logistical question about why a class might fulfill both. So, I mean, just to give an example, let's say I teach a course that is all 3 credits in Latin American history, and it does deal with the culture, with the structural issues in the way that would fulfill that first one, but it also focuses on the global South. Therefore, it could fulfill either requirement, right? Therefore, a student could simply choose if they have another class that does one or the other, they could pick my class to do either one. You know, these are details that haven't been fully decided on, and if there are things that are, you know, these are things that will have to be worked out. The second thing that you brought up, I think, is also a really major issue that people have disagreements on. Do we focus on the positive contributions of cultures around the world? This has often been talked about as multiculturalism. It's a way that, you know, diversity is often interpreted. You know, let's learn about cultures from around the world and celebrate what's great about all of them without having to critique empire, slavery, colonialism, power imbalances, right? People disagree on this, on how we should do this, right? So, you know, and this disagreement is one of the things that, you know, we're going to be in when we talk about this, right? So, and this is something that as faculty, we also don't necessarily all agree on. But, you know, I think also we need to keep in mind, this is not a political project. This is a way of thinking about ways of thinking that exist, you know, within and across disciplines. So even the language of white supremacy has a particular meaning in a certain kind of, let's say, academic context that is not the same as what it might have in popular culture.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we also have to think about what it means in popular culture when people are reading it and reacting.
Thank you, Dr. Yarfitz. I'm going to ask Nick and then Dee to make your comments, and then if we could just have them both ask their questions before we answer. And then I'm sorry, Ethan, if you want to send your question in the chat, maybe we can get to that as well, just for the sake of time.
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of, I'll just mention my one point. I had 2, but just for the sake of time, I'll just mention this one point. You know, just from talking to a lot of students and reading over the, you know, the things that you have created already in regards to this proposal, I think definitely like the concern and the outstanding concern, I'm sure you're aware of this, is that there's like a sense of people feel a little bit like an agenda is trying to be pushed on them or whatnot. So I think it's just very important that this may not, and I'm sure it's not, like you mentioned, that this is not your intention to push a certain proposal or do anything like that. But I would just make sure that you add and articulate to people and maybe add a section into the proposal that just talks about, you know, just mentions that. Because I think, like, you know, in today's society, you know, that's just something that for issues like this, maybe we have to do, and that's just the way it is. And, you know, with certain divisions in our culture, maybe that's something we need to do. So I would just say, to ease sort of people's tensions and the way in which they feel, I would definitely make a note of that and to mention that.
I'm sorry, I know that you're running out of time. I just want to point something out. I think part of the role of education is coming to a place where we can learn to discuss across difference. Like what we're seeing in the news, what we're seeing in pop culture right now, doesn't so much capture what an academic discussion should look like, right? Like we have to refrain from opinions, because in critical thinking, opinions are the weakest form of knowledge, and listen to each other and talk across these differences, even if they're uncomfortable. And that's not to say one side gets more, airtime than the other, but we find a place where we can actually look at what's going on through, depending on what class you're taking. If you're taking, a religion class, what does religion have to say about it? By the way, bug for religion. What does religion have to say about it? What is it talking about in terms of Christianity, in terms of Hinduism, in terms of Buddhism or politics? So I guess the major thing I want, if I could leave a takeaway from here, is that let's get academia back to being academia. Let's look at these various forms of thinking and let's use them to talk across difference. I think that's very important, rather than what's going on, let's say, as in the media or pop culture. Let's just keep an academic setting. Thank you.
Dee, you can go ahead.
I have a quick question for Dr. Ramachandran. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Dee. How are you?
Good, that's my question.
Oh.
Thanks, Dee. And on that note, I'm going to send the link for the survey in the chat, and also you should be receiving it back out within minutes this evening. That's a great way to end this conversation for now. Dee.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
thank you both so much.
Yeah. And if anyone, if anybody also has ideas about how to circulate this among students, we'd love to work on that with you. And we are taking very seriously trying to create something that feels accessible and relevant, to as many students as possible across, certainly across ideological differences, and sort of thinking about how to balance that with, with the concerns and critiques that have generated this proposal to begin with. So thank you all very much for engaging in this conversation and for bringing your critiques. And I look forward to reading what you put in the survey. You can also email us directly or email Dr. Gallegos. Thank you all so much.
Thank
you. And anyone, if you can't find an email or the survey or whatever, feel free to shoot me a message and we can forward things along pretty easily. I'm going to send that link right now. Dr. Ramachandran and Dr. Yarfitz, you are free to stay or go as you please, but thank you so much for your time on a Tuesday night.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. Everyone, we're going to move on to the next point of our agenda, right as I send this link in the chat. I don't want everyone meeting. Sorry. That's the link for the survey. If it doesn't work, it's also on the agenda. We are going to move on now to the agenda portion B of the new business. This is SB 8. I'm going to share my screen. I hope everyone read it. Mr. President, would you like to read the text of this bill?
Sure, absolutely. Being enacted by the Senate of the Wake Forest University Student Government here assembled, Section 1, Article 3 of the Wake Forest University Student Government Constitution shall be amended as follows. The Speaker of the House, with the advice and consent of the other executive officers after their inaugurations in the spring, shall appoint committee chairs for each standing committee. While it is recommended that chairs have at least one semester of student government experience, it is not required. Each committee must have at least one chair with a minimum of one semester of experience in the student government Senate. If a chair does not have one semester of experience in student government, it is expected that they possess other qualifications which would compensate for their inexperience in the Senate. It is the responsibility of the Speaker of the House to present qualifications and receive express consent from the executive officers and student government advisor prior to the appointment of a chair without one semester of experience in the student government Senate. Committee chairs shall become full members of the Senate upon appointment to the co-chair position. Section 2, this amendment shall take effect upon passage. Respectfully submitted, myself, Ali, Ethan, and Sydney.
Thank you, Miles.
Ethan, did you want to give a little background on this bill here, sir?
Yeah, thanks, Miles. So this is a bill that's been in the works for a while. Over the summer, this is something that Ali and Miles and I had been discussing, particularly because we had 2 co-chairs this year who did not possess the requisite Senate experience. Despite that, we went ahead and allowed their appointment, or rather Ali did, with the express consent of the rest of the executives. So after evaluating their performance, I mean, we all wholeheartedly agree that they've done a fantastic job. Ultimately, I think our goal in introducing this is to have people on student government co-chair positions who are passionate about the responsibilities which they hold in that position, and can bring some great change to student government and the rest of campus. So we think this is a worthwhile change. And again, thank you to both Ali, Miles, and Sydney for co-sponsoring this with me.
Just to add on to Ethan's comments, for those who were not here over the course of the first co-chair appointments, what we ended up doing was allowing candidates who did not have student government experience to interview in light of the COVID pandemic and the diverse needs of our student body across a variety of different campus organizations and backgrounds. And in that process, we determined that Uma, who is the D&I co-chair, and Jess, who is the PR co-chair, possessed the necessary qualifications to perform their duties well, and they were willing to do the work to learn Senate. And so we, over the summer, passed a special resolution to allow them to serve in this capacity due to the current circumstances. I have spoken with both co-chairs and their co-chairs to see if there are any problem points that they've identified. And while there were some transitional issues with just like any person's transition into the cabinet, they were not to a degree that made their jobs, made them incapable of doing their jobs. So with that, we have decided to go forward with this change. So bearing all this in mind and having read the legislation, I'm going to allow 2 minutes for questions. This is just to clarify any confusions, or if you have specific questions about the context of this, we can do debate and discussion after. As a reminder to everyone, I'm going to ask that you try to limit your comments to like 30 seconds, just in the for the sake of time. Also, please remember that you can motion to extend or limit this time, or to move through to the next portion of this process. If you don't remember how to do that, Vivian can help you. And once we vote on this legislation, that will be the thing that is public. No votes prior to the actual vote on the legislation will be made public. With that, I'm setting the timer for 2 minutes. Please raise your hand if you have any questions.
Motion to skip questions and discussion and move into voting procedure.
Second.
Second. All right.
Just to confirm that y'all are trying to motion the previous question, is that correct?
Yes, motion to move the previous question.
Great.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Rory. I heard a second. So all those in favor, please go to the participant section and raise your hand using the raise hand function. Those in favor, everyone has to do this if they're in favor to move to vote, not if you're in favor of the legislation.
Wait, how do you do this again?
Go to participants, click on yourself.
It actually changed in the update, Ali. It's now in reactions.
Go to reactions and raise your hand using your reactions. Thank you, Pilar.
Wait, where are reactions? Sorry.
On the bottom, near breakout rooms, or near record, or near chat. I'm not sure how yours is arranged because you're not a host. Cool. All right, I'm seeing most people have done, so I'm going to lower everyone's hands. Please do not lower yours or your own because it will confuse the thing. Anyone opposed to moving to the previous question, please raise your hand using the raise hand function. All right, we will move to vote on the legislation at hand. As a reminder, your options are yay, nay, and abstain. A yay is the vote in the affirmative, saying you would like this bill to pass. A nay is a vote in the negative, saying you would not like this to pass, and an abstention is neither a vote in the affirmative nor the negative. It will be kept on record as you voting, but will not be counted in the total proportion of votes cast. So with that, Caroline, you are good to go.
Okay, Vivian,
Yay.
Amon,
Yay.
Ethan,
Aye.
Jack Lewis,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Abby,
Yay.
Meredith,
Yes.
Emma,
Yay.
Emma,
Sorry.
okay, you're fine. Melissa,
Yay.
Isaiah,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Dee,
Abstain.
Mackenzie,
Yay.
Dan,
Yes.
Nancy Walker,
Yes.
Braden,
Yay.
Megan,
Yes.
Aria,
Yes.
CJ,
Yay.
Jess,
Yes.
Uma,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Mariama,
Abstain.
Gabby De La Vega,
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yay.
Ava,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Gabby Zinas,
Yes.
Caroline Dixon,
Yes.
Michael Walsh,
Yes.
Nick Dowling,
Yes.
Nick Briggs,
Yay.
Tim,
Yes.
Essex,
Yes.
Rory,
Yes.
Sydney,
Yay.
Kanisha,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Pilar,
Abstain.
Caroline Wright,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
okay, that's everyone. If I didn't call you and you joined the meeting late, please speak now. But I think I got everyone in the meeting.
With that in mind, the bill
Okay.
passes. So thank you, Caroline.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we can move on to the next portion of our agenda then. And that change will be made to the governing documents by the parliamentarian. Miles, we will start with your report. I'll share my screen. Just give me 2 seconds.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Thank you for the votes. First and foremost, as people know, Sunday we have a new president coming in who will be effective by July 1st. Dr. Winty. Myself, Allie, and a few other student leaders on campus were able to meet her Saturday. She's very engaging, very student friendly, and we are looking into having her as she transitions to being the new president with President Hatch, as I mentioned, to cabinet, hoping that she comes to Senate at least down the road. I know that she's a very busy woman. She is the provost, also a chancellor at Vanderbilt, so she is very busy. So we're looking into that, and we're thankful that she's able to be the new president of Wake Forest University as the 14th president. To my second point, it's a new year, that same problems, COVID. So please be smart, please be vigilant. Do not do anything stupid. I will be very blunt to that point. You all are representing student government and the greater Wake Forest community, and obviously trying to uphold the standards that the administration puts out there. So please just don't do anything that will jeopardize that. Additionally, to the senators and co-chairs, just continue doing the great work that you did last semester. You guys were on a roll. Keep that roll going. It's a new semester. I know that's the spring coming close. Some of our seniors will get senioritis, but please just stay up to your work and just keep working hard for our students. Thirdly, this is my most exciting thing. Elections obviously are coming up. It is February. I think elections usually are typically held in March. So I got to start forming the elections committee and start talking to our wonderful advisor, Dean Wilkinson, about how that process will run out. But please let me know if there's anything that we can do for you. If obviously all positions are open, unless the people who are in the positions now want to run again for the same positions. But if you are looking to run for president, if you're looking to run for Speaker of the House, Secretary, Treasurer, you can't run for Chief of Staff, but you can run for the senator's positions. If you're looking to do any of those positions in the exec, you can talk to the respective people in their positions now about their positions and try to, you can gauge interest from there. Please do not tell anybody that you're thinking about running for something, because that is obviously a violation ahead of time. That could be considered campaigning, so please be careful with that. If you do want to talk to me about running for president or anything like that, this position is open for sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are coming up. So freshmen, you can run for president if you want, whatever. But you can definitely look into other exec positions also. But with that, please do not try to do anything that will just try to one up somebody. Meaning, I do not like when people tend to do things for the benefit of themselves, not the benefit of the Wake Forest community. So please make sure that you're doing the right things for students, putting students first. I hold that very true to my heart. To my next point, the counseling center, I know we lost 2 counselors, but we did hire one, and we're in the process of hiring another. Drew can probably hit more on that, as he does have more meetings with them down the road, and we're going to get, and obviously Campus Life will have more meetings with them obviously down the road about mental health week and stuff like that. So we're just going to keep moving that process along, and as long as they keep hiring counselors, I think we're just going to keep that line of communication open as far as we can go. And then lastly, our last point, I mentioned this last semester, but we did start forming around the COVID-19 liaisons, or our kind of 2 freshmen who are leading that, Kate Italy and Jackson Butler. Those are 2 freshmen who will be leading this COVID kind of liaison group. What they are doing is they are essentially trying to gather and separate the issues. So we're taking the COVID issues and trying to separate them from the committee, so the committees aren't just brought down by all the work that COVID brings to them. Physical planning, for example, Campus Life, we're trying to separate those issues and make sure that they can focus on their immediate priorities that reflect back on their committees. So we're looking into, so we did form them, we're just setting up their meetings. So we set them up with Marianne Stratner with her COVID consulting group. Then we're looking into setting them up with the new COVID-19 office director, who is Mr. Dinkins, Director Dinkins. So that meeting is Friday, and we're just going to set them up so that there should be more conversation about this next week. But that's all I have for right now. If there are any questions, please let me know. And as usual, Allie is next.
Does anyone have questions for Miles's report? Okay, I will move on to my report then. So there's a new president, like Miles said. I met Dr. Wente with Miles and a couple other seniors on Saturday afternoon. So Because I was the only non-senior in that meeting, I did speak briefly to Dr. Wente about her desire to meet with other students across the campus that are encompass a diverse array of perspectives, backgrounds, majors, class years, etc. So with that in mind, I will be reaching out to her over the course of the semester to set up something for student government or to get the ball rolling on that. I'm trying to be respectful to the Hatches and remember that Dr. Hatch is still our president until July 1st when Dr. Wente takes over, and also be cognizant of the fact that Dr. Wente is still in her other position at Vanderbilt. So in the event that it's not feasible to have her join us this semester, I will just be facilitating that connection and pass it along to whoever should be the speaker after me. We also do have a new UCC director. Her position starts on May 1st, so she is not yet with us on campus, but Dr. Warrenetta Mann is a counseling center director from South Carolina, University of South Carolina. She previously was the counseling center director at William & Mary, and then has also held positions at other universities. We're really excited about her starting that position. If you would like more information on her, you can feel free to ask me at the end of my report, or I can forward you more information as well if you email me. There's a code of conduct review meeting that myself, Miles, and the judiciary co-chairs are attending this week. Just with the changes due to COVID and whatever else is going on, we will be getting updated and I guess providing feedback, but I'll update next week on that. Thank you to everyone who helped at the food truck. I know it was last minute, but it seems like it was a big success. I know I enjoyed the food. Mental Health Week, Earth Week, and Academic Resources Awareness Week are all coming up this semester. That's a lot. It's 3 different committees. If you're in one of the committees that is putting on one of these weeks, my expectation is that you will be helping at these events or helping to plan these events. Please do not leave your co-chairs with all the work. It is a lot to plan an entire week of events. With that said, expect your co-chairs to assign duties. I'm sure they will be asking for your feedback and your preferences. There will also be opportunities for other senators to gain extracurriculars by helping at these weeks. And yes, if you're in one of the committees hosting one of these weeks and you sign up for an event during the week, you will also get an extracurricular. But just please keep note of these coming up because it is a lot. And then I'm going to also move on to the next slide very briefly and do an overview of some legislation things, just because I know we might need a refresher. But before I do that, does anyone have questions on this stuff? Okay, and I will also just echo Miles and encourage everyone who is considering running for an executive office to please talk to the person who holds that office. The jobs encompass a lot more or maybe different things than is obvious on face value. So I would just encourage you to have that conversation. It will be private with whoever you speak to. Just to go over this, I know this is a lot of words. I'm not going to read all of it, but you will be provided a copy of each of these documents in your email when you get the minutes. My expectation moving forward would be that we will follow at the very least these steps in the writing resolution cheat sheet, which very basically are, you should contact me when you're writing the resolution so I know it's happening and I can check in with you. You need to have your committee vote on it, and your committee should be taking a record of that vote and submitting it. And then once your committee votes on it, it needs to be sent to me with at least 48 hours before Senate. So I have time to review it with Judiciary and Vivian. That's the very basic overview of how legislation needs to go. I know it's a little confusing, but these cheat sheets should be really helpful for you. Does anyone have questions on this stuff? Okay, then I will move on to Victoria.
Hey everyone, operational budgets for chartered student organizations are due this Friday, February 5th at 11:59. I'm closing the form at midnight. Then budget presentations are taking place next Monday, February 8th through the end of February, the 26th. So if you're part of any student organizations and have any questions, please reach out to me. And then like Miles and Ali have said, if you're interested in running for treasurer next year, please reach out to me. There are some more specific qualifications involving SBAC that you have to kind of meet before you're eligible to run for treasurer. So just reach out to me.
Any questions for Victoria? All right, Caroline.
Hi, everyone. The student government calendar is updated, and please just let me know if you have a particular event that you want included on the calendar because it's an extracurricular or something that your committee is doing, and I will make sure to put it on there. Also, huge thank you to everyone who came out to support the food truck and volunteer tonight. That was awesome. And if you're also looking for other ways to earn extracurricular, you can also participate in SG socials. I'll send out a message every Monday, and then basically you'll just be paired with another person in student government, and you can find a time to meet and talk and get to know each other a little better, because I know it's a large organization and it's nice to be able to connect and have the opportunity to network some within student government. So with that being said, also feel free to reach out if you're interested in running for secretary. I'm happy to talk with you about what the job entails. And of course, that would also be a private conversation between me and you if you choose to reach out.
Thank you, Caroline. Does anyone have questions for Caroline? Okay, Drew.
Hey everyone, I hope you all had a good first week of classes. So I'm working on getting the ball rolling with the President's Leadership Series. I'm working with, of course, Dean Wilkinson and Miles in the coming weeks to hopefully get that set up. Miles already talked about it, but we're working on getting the ball rolling with our COVID liaisons, Kate and Jackson. So more to come on that soon. And last semester we had a resolution supporting having election day kind of off classes to allow people to vote. And Allie and I are working with one of the academic committees that establishes the calendar to get that done in future years. So again, more to come on that soon. Like Miles said, you can't run for chief of staff, but if you want to know more about what I do, you're more than welcome to reach out. But I hope you all have an amazing week of classes and stay safe out there.
Thank you, Drew. Does anyone have questions for Drew? Okay, well, I won't call him Dean Wilkinson like Miles and Drew over here, but our lovely advisor, Tim, is next.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Dean Wilkinson.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
All right, that was fairly well done. You're all in mid-season form. It's good to see you all. If I look like I'm freezing, I am, because the food trucks were way too successful and we were out there until 7:45. There were, I think, 119 students who checked in. So yeah, thank you for those of you who were able to join us tonight and assist. We're going to do it 3 more times, I think, in the next 3 weeks. So we'll talk more about that. Just some general updates. First, hopefully you all got the update on our student trustee process. If you haven't, I'm going to share a link to the Student Life Committee website where you can get more information. So our student trustee process is live. You'll find in the link that I just sent you both applications for student trustee. They are open to all rising juniors and seniors, so current sophomores and juniors. For the trustee position next year, as well as a nomination form. So the nomination form is simply an indicator to us. If you nominate another student, it's a great way for us to make sure that we are looking at every possible student and also making sure that every student is considered. Students we may not necessarily think of. Maybe you know somebody who just doesn't get the credit they deserve, because the great thing about the student trustee process, it doesn't just lead to a new student trustee, it also leads to oftentimes people like myself, Dean Goldstein, Vice President Rue, other members of the Student Life Committee, identifying up and coming student leaders. Vice President Rue often uses it as a recruitment platform for her Campus Life Advisory Group and other university committees that we put together. So please don't be afraid to nominate people. I will reach out to anybody who is nominated. Please don't be afraid to apply yourself. It's a great process. And I'm happy to talk more about it next Tuesday at 8:30. Hopefully student government will be over by 8:30 next week. We are going to do an information session with Andrew Logan, the current trustee, and Kyle Adams, the trustee prior to Andrew. So that is on the link. If you are interested, please RSVP for it. Just to touch very quickly on the counseling center staffing updates. having conversations with James Raper and also just, knowing those in the counseling center, to be a little more transparent, being Facebook friends with some who have left for new positions. Our counseling center openings are because our counseling center staff members have moved on to better opportunity. And that's not to say their position at Wake Forest was a bad opportunity. They've had good opportunities to advance their careers. So our gaps right now in the counseling center are simply because of that. I know, for example, we've talked about the gaps that we've had in student engagement. It's not different. So please make sure that those who are wondering know that the search processes are going to be moving forward. It's a frustrating time during COVID, but it's not unusual to have those openings. And I'm happy to talk more with anybody who's interested. Ali mentioned I was supposed to be on the search committee for the director position, and I couldn't because of my workload, but it was a great candidate pool, and we're very excited about our new director. Raise your hand if you know about the new fireside on Manchester Plaza location. I think most of your hands are up. Nick Briggs, why isn't your hand up? There it is. I love just randomly doing that to students. So let me share with you another website. If you've not learned about what's going on Manchester, we have put out, I believe, 65 Adirondack chairs. We've put out fire pits. We have a new stage out there. We have live streaming equipment and a movie screen and projector. We had 115 students out there tonight. We were supposed to have a game watch party out there tonight, or a game watch event rather, at 5 o'clock, but the wind gusts were up to 25 degrees, so we couldn't put the screen up. The space is now available on Deacon Space to be reserved. The idea is to use it as programming space. We've set it up in a way that you can have up to 48 attendees at an event, because we've roped off the back section, section C, into 2 areas. So you can have 2 separate groups of 24. As long as they don't intermingle, you can have events up to 48. If you look at the website, besides talking about the space, we've also included a few new things around event planning. We have been working to create what we're calling ready-made health and safety guides. One of the things we know is that as students were putting on events for the first time last semester, there was oftentimes confusion, which led to delay on health and safety plans. We right now have 6 standard health and safety plans up there for events like movie nights, make and takes, things like that. We're adding more next week. If you are event planning and you go through the event planning process on the link, those event safety guides are pre-populated into the link. So now, instead of having to create a safety plan, you can review a safety plan, fill in the specifics for your organization, which will further expedite. So please check out the Manchester sites. Let's see, what else do I have tonight? Wake Frost is this weekend. Please come out if you're looking for something to do. We are very much trying to move things on to Manchester. We know it rained a little bit this past week, which is why we postponed it. In the next week, I believe I'm going to be asking you all to look at a brief assessment that we've been working on. A group of university staff members have been working on a 3 or 4 question assessment that we are going to send out to a random group of Wake Forest students every week. But before we start doing it, we want some students to take a look at it and make sure the assessment makes sense to them. So more to come on that. You'll probably be getting an email from me on that. And then lastly, next Monday, our 2 new staff members begin. Shauna McNeil, who's our Director of Student Organizations and Programs, and at some point will become a co-advisor of student governments, as well as Erin Parrish, who is our new Assistant Director working with student unions. So we will be fully staffed up again next week, and I'm very excited about that. That's all I have. Welcome back.
Thank you, Tim. Does anyone have questions for Tim?
Tim, what is the date of Wake Frost?
It's a great question. It is Saturday the 9th.
This Saturday?
This Saturday is the 6th.
Like I said, the 6th. It is this Saturday, the 6th.
Okay.
It is on the link, but it is this Saturday, the 6th.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Tim. We will move on into academic.
Hi, everyone. So a few things this week. One, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. we have the Renting in New York City annual lecture. This is open primarily to seniors, but if some juniors wanted to hop into it, I'm sure it would not be a problem. I encourage all of you to sign up. The information for it is in the GroupMe, and we have been circulating it around to other organizations as well. It should be super informative and a good time. Ava, would you like to talk about Academic Resources Week?
Yeah, sure. So we're gonna be working on that with PR, and it's gonna be next week. So stay on the lookout for extracurricular opportunities to get involved and help us out. And then next, so we're meeting with ODOC next week. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any of the above, feel free to just text myself or Braden. And then we're also meeting with our academic affairs group on Thursday. So I'll be representatives from a ton of different colleges. But we're just gonna talk about COVID stuff and academics. Yeah.
Thank you, Braden and Ava. Does anyone have questions for academic? Okay, we can move on to campus life.
Hey everyone. So we've been working on mental health week stuff. We have a meeting tomorrow with Miles, Allie, Victoria, and the PR co-chairs to start planning events, talking about all that good stuff. And thank you to everyone who worked the food truck tonight and for making it a great success. It was awesome.
Shout out to Dan, Amon, Dee, Aria, and Emma. You guys are great, standing out there in the cold. I also am about to drop my phone number in the chat. Sophomores, juniors, and seniors, if you guys have any ideas about events that you've liked at Mental Health Week before, just go ahead and send those either to Dave or to me, and we can make sure we get those in the schedule for this year. Thanks.
Thank you both, and big welcome to Caroline, who is now the co-chair. Does anyone have questions for campus life? All right, and the dates of Mental Health Week should be on the student government calendar if anyone needs to find them. Diversity and inclusion.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thank you for all your thoughts on the cultural diversity requirement stuff, and to please let us know if there's any lingering thoughts or questions and to add them in those surveys that Ali just sent on the chat. We are meeting with Dr. V this week, so if you have any questions for him or things you need us to bring up, please reach out. And finally, this project has been in the works for about 1.5 years now. Olivia, who's one of the sexual health wellness interns, helped with it. So Safer Sex Express is like a free condom delivery service. It's kind of part of a whole sexual wellness initiative on campus. I'll put the link in the chat, but it's basically an opportunity for you to order free safer sex supplies, and it'll be directly delivered to your PO box. So very convenient, and it's free. So take advantage. It saves you a trip to the grocery store.
Any questions for D&I? Okay, we can move on then to judiciary.
Hey everyone. So not too much new news this week. We have a couple of our projects which are ongoing, so we'll just kind of recap what we've been up to. As far as code of conduct work is concerned, I met with Dr. Still over the break. We had a fruitful meeting about what the future of the Code of Conduct Coalition will look like, so more details to come on that. I'm also meeting with Ali Clayton in a couple of weeks to discuss the Canvas course, which ideally would upload all of our Code of Conduct stuff onto a convenient Canvas course. That way we wouldn't have to worry about creating an app and maintaining that. It can simply be kept on Canvas. And then, as Ali already mentioned, we are meeting with key administrators on Friday to discuss more code of conduct stuff. City will discuss some stuff with Democracy Week as well.
Yeah, so we're just kind of continuing our Democracy Week project that we started this past fall. We were supposed to go into a classroom, well, a Zoom classroom at R.J. Reynolds High School, which is a local high school. But due to like their calendar changes and the COVID policies, that had to be pushed. So we're gonna do that sometime this coming spring, and we're still looking to run a simulation with Senate. So be on the lookout for that. And then we are continuing to kind of explore options as to how we can expand Democracy Week and the Civic Day of Service to other community aspects and like within campus. So yeah.
And then one just last brief note is that we are going to be working on an archival review process. This has been on my wish list since the summer, so I'm glad we finally have an opportunity to work on it. So that's also in the works, and that's all for this week. Thanks all.
Thank you both, and welcome Sydney to the cabinet. Does anyone have any questions for judiciary? All right, then we can do PR.
Hi, everyone. I hope you had a good break. So Academic Resources Awareness Week is next week, so we're really, really excited about that. We're really going to need your help to help staff tables. We'll be doing tables in Trimble Courtyard from 9 to 3 each day. And you can see the week schedule on the slide there. So each day is going to be a different academic resource. So there's going to be people from those resources at the table each day, in addition to student government people. And then we're also going to need your help like reposting things on our social media accounts. And also if you do that, there'll be certain prizes that you can win. So we have gift cards to a whole bunch of different restaurants in Winston. So it's kind of to your service to repost and comment and just follow those social media accounts closely during this next week. Also to spread the word on campus. It's gonna be a really good week. We have a lot of things planned, so we're really excited. And then we'll also need your help like distributing like flyers and posters probably at the end of this week / this weekend. So be on the lookout for like a Google Sheets form from Caroline or I or Brooke about kind of how to get involved, and they will count as extracurriculars. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Any questions for PR? All right, this starts on Monday, so don't forget. Physical planning.
Hey guys. Okay,
sorry.
Meredith, you can go.
You can go.
No, it's okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so Megan and I met with Mr. Wise on Monday. I was like really just getting that back started again, and we're gonna meet with him twice a month. So if y'all ever have any concerns you want brought up to him, just let us know and we'll bring it up with our next meeting for him. And we begin planning for Earth Week. So if you have any ideas that you maybe want to see, just let us know and we'll try to integrate that in the best way possible.
Yeah, for sure. If y'all have any ideas, just let us know, and feel free to like hop in our committee meeting if you ever have any points about that, if that's allowed. I'm pretty sure it is, because we are probably going to be focusing most of our meetings around prepping for Earth Week. And I'm just now realizing it's been 2021 for a while, but I hope y'all semesters are off to a great start. It's a great new year, so excited for everything coming up.
Yeah, if y'all did want to hop in on our committee meeting, we changed it 7:15 p.m. on Sundays. So it's like not Thursday nights anymore. So if you want to come, that's when it is now.
All right, any questions for physical planning?
Megan and Meredith, if you want to have like a small mini listening session at one of your committee meetings, just like at the beginning or something, you can count as an extracurricular event, and you just have to like let me know when you want to do that. And yeah.
Thank you, Caroline. Any other questions or comments? I did put 2020 by accident on the agenda until like very shortly before I sent it out yesterday. So the 2021 reminder is very helpful. Thank you. Sock.
What's up, guys? Yeah, not too much. I hope you're all doing really well. Congratulations to Shauna McNeil and Aaron Parrish for their new roles on OSE. They're going to be working with us more directly kind of as they get integrated. So really excited to see what happens there. And then chartering is currently on hold again for this semester. We're kind of bummed about that, but just as we integrate the new people into the team, and obviously with COVID, we're just trying to make sure that that is all being taken care of. And yeah, Amber.
Yeah, just very excited about getting some new people in the office and working with Shauna especially, because she'll be working pretty closely with SOC. So I'm excited to continue to talk more about getting the chartering process back open as soon as possible, because we know that that's very important, but glad that things are moving forward.
Any questions for SOC? Yeah, Ethan, what's up?
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify because I did hear on the rumor mill that the chartering process may reopen this semester. I just wanted to make sure that that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. It's not reopening.
Rory, Amber, can I jump in for a sec? So Ethan, what you may be hearing is, and I should have mentioned this in my report, this week, in the next 2 weeks with the new Manchester space, we're running an extended involvement fair where we're letting groups have face-to-face time. One of the things that Aaron Forbes did do was open up space for groups that are in the pre-chartering process. So that may be where that rumor mill started from. I think the goal would be for Shauna and Aaron to work with Rory and Amber and her group to get the chartering process in place to begin again next semester. But again, right now, I think Rory and Amber hit it on the head. I don't think we're going to be open this semester, but we're also not ignoring those groups either.
Thank you, Tim, for that clarification. Any other questions for SOC? Okay, then we will move through the rest of our agenda. Does anyone have a Senate report? Anyone have constituent concerns?
Yeah, actually, sorry, is someone talking?
Jacob, go ahead, and then for other constituent concerns, can you just raise your hand? Thank you.
I don't know if there's anything we can possibly do, and I don't think that there is, but like every shower in Luter hasn't had like warm water in like a week. Like it's always cold for some reason. And I told people who complain that like we can't just install another water heater, but I just thought I'd bring that to the attention because I've got like 6 people in Luter who have complained about that. So I just thought I'd bring that to the attention of, everybody here.
Hey, yo, I lived in Luter. It's not going to be hot water for a while.
That's what I said, but these people are pretty mad about it. So
they're just not going to be hot water. Trust me. There wasn't hot water for 2 weeks when I was there 2 years ago.
Fair enough. Thanks, Will.
Physical planning, can we just look into that? Even if it seems like it might be.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get that taken care of. And also, I think it would help y'all's case if y'all also maybe filled out like maintenance reports for that. And of course, like we will do everything we always do, but I do think that might help your case a little bit because we'll reach out to the like proper administrator and fill out a form probably is what we usually do. So yeah, we'll definitely address all of the hot water things because that's very important as it's literally freezing right now.
Oh, and the water, like the fountain things where you fill up the water bottles still aren't activated yet in a few of the ones in Luter. So I don't know who we talked to about that either. But like the water fountains are on, but the filtering station where you put your water bottle in isn't on yet in like 3 of the 6 in Luter so far. So I just thought I'd bring that up too. But yeah.
Just a second, Megan. I've had the same problem. There was like no hot water in my shower in Polo, and I filled out a maintenance report. Just email hall@wfu.edu and they fix it the next day. So maybe try doing that too.
Caroline, can you send that email in the chat really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Aria, do you have a question or is it your hand is still up?
It was the hot water thing. That's what people in Taylor were saying as well. So.
Okay. So, anyone else have questions or concerns? Sorry.
I actually had one too. I know it's kind of confusing someone here, but this is just something for physical planning. But like this week I was on like crutches, and this is like a big thing to ask. But maybe just look into. Like most things on this campus aren't accessible by like wheelchair crutches. Like my dorm doesn't even have a elevator, and like to get to the pit, I had to walk like 2 miles basically to like try to go anywhere that didn't have stairs. So it's just like something I noticed. I'm not really sure what to do with that, but it is something that I noticed, and like some kids in my dorm have mentioned before when they were injured. So.
Yeah, that is a huge thing. And I've thought about that too, because I have a friend at home who she's in a wheelchair. So I like kind of notice things like that maybe a little more. And I think it's also like the nature of like the topography of Winston. And I do think that there could be things implemented. We'll definitely like check into that as a broad project. and you've probably discovered this, but probably the best way to like go around campus is like going all the way around. So like if you're going to the left towards like White Chapel, going around towards Farrell, or if you're going like by the ZSR to get to like North Campus, you'd walk like all the way around that sidewalk, if that makes sense. That's probably easier. But yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, and we'll definitely address that. And I'm sorry that you're on crutches because that's not very fun.
It's okay, but thank you.
Emma, also, I don't know if you have a car, but in the event you do have a car that is in Winston, you can get a pass to park on campus because of your injury if you have a doctor's note. So you should be able to drive to parking lots that are closer. And then also I would contact Disability Services because they might have other solutions.
Okay, that all sounds good. Thank you.
A quick fun fact, we're ranked among the top 10 least hospitable campuses for disabled students, I think. So
There's a new ramp somewhere. I noticed it the other day. I don't remember where I noticed it, but I was like, there was
down the list.
one ramp. Any other constituent concerns? Okay, then we can just move on to announcements. Any announcements?
Dating Deacons is starting back up. Sign up. It's going to be awesome. If you don't know what it is, it's a blind dating service. There is money for people who are not able to afford good eye care. So, and we'll set you up on a cool date. So have fun. And also, I hope the Buccaneers lose.
Enjoy this side commentary, Dave. Thank you. Ethan, did you have an announcement?
Yeah, quick shout out and an announcement. I mentioned this in cabinet the other night, but I wanted to give a shout out to Kate for her article in the Old Gold and Black about the UCC. Thought it was an awesome article, Kate, so congrats on that. And then quick announcement, we're having a kind of like informal custodial appreciation program in Poteet this week. So if you're on like the quad area and want to come contribute, just shoot me a message and I'd be happy to direct you. Thanks.
Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that if you guys want to stay updated on events and stuff that are happening Fireside, you can follow the student engagement Instagram account. We're constantly updating stuff on that through stories and permanent posts. So you guys should definitely check that out.
Thank you, Dana. I'm sure Tim would second that. Any other announcements? Sorry. Okay, so that's our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second.
Anyone opposed, raise your hand now. All right, y'all are free to go. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to end the live stream and then, yeah.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm still cold, by the way.
Tim, I for a second I thought you were still outside, and then I'm like,